So Samson is born, Samson grows up, and then Samson goes down to Timnah, and he finds there a woman that he wants to marry. In chapter 14, Samson went down to Timnah and saw a young Philistine woman, and he returned and said to his father and mother, I have seen a Philistine woman in Timnah, now get her for me for my wife. He sees the girl, but question, in the ancient times, were they arranged marriages? Did the parents have to arrange the marriage? I think this is a good thing. Anyways, the parents, actually it's crazy, but anyways, that's the way they did it back then. I shouldn't say it's crazy. By the way, some cultures do that till this day, where the parents arrange the marriage. So he goes to his parents and he says, get this girl for me that I've seen. I've often said, what is love? What is love? Geography plus hormones equals love. Okay? You can write that down. Geography plus hormones equals love. Why did Samson fall in love with this girl? Was she located in Timnah, the next town over? In other words, the geography, who do you fall in love with? Do you fall in love with the people you're around, the people you work with, the people you go to school with? You know, does geography have a big part to do with it? Geography has a big part to do with it. So Samson, right next door to Timnah, falls and get this girl for me and things. His parents then come back. His father and mother replied, isn't there an acceptable woman among your relatives, among all our people? Must you go after the uncircumcised Philistines to get a wife? But Samson said to his father, get her for me. She is the right one for me. Okay? And it's interesting, the parents here, and this is a point that I want to bring up as far as his wife from Timnah, the parents seem to have an inability to say no to Samson. Samson gets what Samson wants. Samson wants this girl, they object to it, and he overrides their objection, and he gets this girl from Timnah, the Philistine from Timnah. Now, the Lord was also involved in this. The Lord was involved in this and was going to use Samson's attraction to this woman to defeat the Philistines of sorts. So Samson goes down the first time, and what does he do? He meets by a lion. Samson, very, very strong guy, rips the lion apart with bare hands kind of thing, takes the lion apart, kills the lion, and then he goes down to see his future wife and things. He comes back a second time, and when he comes back to the carcass of the lion, what's in the carcass of the lion? There's some bees and some honey. And so what he does is he grabs, I always wonder how you do that without all the paraphernalia. But anyways, he gets he smokes them out or whatever, but he gets the honey, and so now he's got what? Now, by the way, it tells you the story about this lion and the honey, because is that going to become important later on? Yeah, so then he goes down there. He's this big, strong guy. He's going to do some incredible feats. He is really tremendously strong, obviously endowed by the Spirit of God, but also really just strong guy and things. Have you ever seen a strong, big, strong guy, the athletic type, want to also be the smart guy? And so Samson here's got to prove he's the smart guy, and so he's going to tell them this riddle. So he goes down to the wedding, and they're in this wedding feast, 7-day wedding feast and things, and Samson says, let me tell you a riddle, Samson says to them. If you can give me an answer within 7 days of the feast, I will give you 30 linen garments and 30 sets of clothes. And if you can't tell me the answer, then you must give me 30 linen garments and 30 sets of clothes. Tell us the riddle, they said. Let's hear it. He replied, and this is the famous riddle. There are the riddles in the Bible too. They're riddles. Out of the eater came something to eat. Out of the eater came something to eat. Out of the strong came something sweet. Out of the strong came something sweet. So then what happens? They can't solve the riddle, and on the fourth day, they said to Samson's wife, if you can't get it from facing up the man one-to-one, what do? Go through the wife, right? Question, is that effective? Yes, it is. Okay, I don't recommend it, but it is effective. Okay, been there, done that kind of thing, if you know what I mean. So, okay, on the fourth day, they said, coax your husband into explaining us the riddle, or we will burn you and your father's household to death. Did you invite us here to rob us? Then Samson's wife threw herself on him, sobbing, you hate me, you don't really love me. You've given my people a riddle and you haven't told me the answer. You're on your wedding, right? And this is like a 7-day feast of your wedding, and your wife starts bawling. What do? Okay? Now, I always feel like when I go to this passage, should bring this up. I know a young man who, when he got married, they went through the wedding. By the way, is there a lot of pressure on the woman when you're going to a wedding thing? Is there a huge amount of pressure? Yes, and our wedding's now worse than it's ever been, as far as, in my opinion, as far as the pressure goes. So this woman was very, very pressurized and stuff. They went through the wedding ceremony. Everything seemed to go well. They went down in the basement of the church and had a reception there, and they, eat dinner with everybody and go around greeting everybody. Everything's cool and stuff like that. Then after it's all over, then they get in the car with the cans and they ride off into the sunset and they go on their honeymoon night. And the guy is there, finally at last, I'm married to this woman. Like, this is the best day of my life. And the guy's so happy and stuff. They get to the hotel and all of a sudden, she starts crying. And the guy is trying to figure out, what did I do? What did I do? Did I say something wrong? Was there something I shouldn't do? What do you want? Do you want flowers? Do you want, what do you want? I mean, whatever you want, I'll get it to you. Why are you crying like this? I don't know why I'm crying. Do you ever ask a woman why they cry? It's like, if they don't know why they're crying, how are you supposed to figure that out? I'll tell you, I don't know. So anyways, you go, what is it? What is wrong? What's wrong? Did I say the vowels right? I said the vowels right and stuff. What's wrong? You go, I'm okay, what's the deal here, And so I'm serious, and you're freaking out because you've never been married before, and all of a sudden she starts crying, okay? And all I want to tell you is, have you ever been in a situation where the adrenaline is really strong and there's so much pressure and adrenaline, and then all of a sudden you get to relax, and when you come down, all of a sudden you start crying for no reason. And that's what can happen, that is what happened in certain weddings I'm very familiar with, okay? And the woman starts crying and stuff. And it wasn't that he did anything wrong, I don't think he did. But it was because she was just, the wedding thing, pressure, it was all over now, and it just took her down. And so all I'm saying is this, it's not cool when a wife cries at a wedding. It's not a good thing, okay? But it happens because of these cycles, and I'm just wanting to warn you because nobody warned me, and it didn't work too well. So, all right. Why is Samson stupid? His wife threw herself on him, sobbing, "You hate me, you don't really love me. You've given a riddle to my people, but you haven't told me the answer." Now, Samson is going to say some things here. Are tears powerful? Is Samson strong? A woman cries, the strong man what? What do you do when a woman? It's like you're helpless. You're helpless. Big, strong Samson is helpless to woman's tears. What can you do? And so the tears. But then what happens is, and what I'm going to suggest is how not to treat a woman. He says this. This is Samson's response. She's crying. He says, "You haven't told me the answer. Me, your loved wife, you haven't told me the answer." He says, "I haven't even explained it to my father and mother," he said. "Why should I explain it to you?" Rule number 1, you don't bring the father-in-law and mother-in-law into it. You bring the father and mother-in-law into it, it explodes. It's ugly. You never do that. That is really stupid. Now you say, "Hildebrandt, how do you know that?" I know that's stupid. Been there, done that, okay? I'm just telling you, this is the voice of experience. You don't bring the father and mother-in-law in, and you don't bring her father and mother-in-law in. You deal with it without those external things. And so what Samson did here is really stupid. You don't say, "I haven't even told my father and mother, so why should I tell you?" It's like, what does that do to her status? He has just placed her over or under his father and mother. Under, and he's supposed to be married to this woman. She's supposed to, okay, this is really stupid. And so then she cried the whole 7 days of the feast. So on the 7th day, he finally told her because she continued to press him. She, in turn, explained the riddle to her people. And before sunset, the 7th day, they come in and say, "What is sweeter than honey and what is stronger than the lion?" And they got his riddle. And then this guy just doesn't get it. This is really funny. I mean, it's really terrible. Don't ever do this. He says then, they got his riddle. What is sweeter than honey? What is stronger than a lion? Samson said, "If you had not plowed with my heifer, you would not have solved my riddle." This is called speaking metaphorically. And when you speak metaphorically and you use a heifer to metaphorically symbolize your wife. Now, by the way, are there certain animals that the Bible uses to symbolize a woman, like a gazelle or beauty? You know what I'm saying? They're beautiful animals. No, in the Song of Solomon, okay, a heifer is a heifer. No, you don't use a heifer, okay? That's like terrible. So Samson here just really, that's, it's over. So what happens is the Spirit of the Lord came on him in power. He goes down and kills 30 Philistines, brings back their garments, gives them to the guy. And then what does he do to his wife, by the way? And burning with anger, he went to his father's house, and Samson's wife was given to his friend. Now, this is something you got to know, that in those kind of contexts, you had a Rhea, you had a friend who was like your best man, actually, what we would call, you can't make it go like between cultures like that. But basically, if the guy bails out, then the best man marries the woman, okay? And so that's, anyway, so what Samson says is, so he's kind of like in this marriage process, it falls apart, and so the other guy steps in, and Samson goes back home. This is a disaster. Yeah, Hannah? Yeah.
How often did guys bail out and why?
I don't know. Samson bailed out because he was angry because his wife betrayed him and didn't tell him those guys. But if she hadn't betrayed him, what would they have done to her father? They would have killed her father. Yeah. So yeah, they had backups even back then. And but the reasons are often complicated. So this is how Samson gets started. This is his first wife, his wife at Timnah. 3 strikes and you're out. This is his first strike, okay? The relation of the Spirit of God on people in the Old Testament. It says the Spirit of God came on Samson, and he went out and slew the 30 Philistines and stuff. So the Spirit of God is his strength and things. What was the relationship of the Spirit of God and people in the Old Testament? Did the Spirit of God ever leave people in the Old Testament? Can you tell me of another person where the Spirit of God left him? Saul, King Saul. Now, some people think when the Spirit of God left him, that means Saul is not a believer in God anymore, that he lost his salvation and things. No. The Spirit of God endowed them with special gifts. Samson was endowed with the gift of strength. Saul was endowed with the gift of kingship. When the Spirit leaves him, that means that the spirit of kingship leaves Saul. It doesn't mean he's necessarily an unbeliever. Saul had other problems that make that clear, but it wasn't the Spirit of God. And the Spirit of God's in a different way. Some people think that the Spirit of God only came in Acts chapter 2. In the New Testament at Pentecost, the Spirit comes down at Pentecost. Was there the Spirit of God in the Old Testament? Yes, it did. And it came on people, endowing these people with certain gifts. The gift in Samson's case was strength, with Saul for kingship. And so you're going to see the Spirit of God working with people in the Old Testament. It wasn't that the Spirit of God wasn't here. It's in Acts chapter 2. I'll leave that for your New Testament prof. So this is the Spirit of God was in the Old Testament, came out and endowed people with gifts. Now that's Samson's first woman.